You're listening to the Transformational Speakers Podcast with your awesome host, Aaron Lohman-Jeck.
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Transformational Speakers Podcast. This is your host, Aaron Lohman-Jeck, and today I will be sharing with you a little bit about my trip from Europe. I was able to go and speak for the Women of Global Change in Italy, Spain, France. We did a whole cruise, and it was so amazing because I was able to actually bring my child. One of the things that we went through was a knee-to-knee exercise that I thought I would want to share with you about communicating with our loved ones, especially children. I'm a mom of a beautiful 10-year-old boy who is a big philanthropist in this world, raising money for charities and nonprofits. He is an amazing individual, very strong-willed, uncompromising, I would say. And I love that about him. And I'm not the one to be here to tell you how to raise your kids. However, I want to actually talk about how to communicate. We're talking about speaking, so why wouldn't we talk about speaking with our children? Now, I also have a 2.5, almost 3-year-old, and communication's a little different with her. And I know that when she grows up, it will still be the same. I am sure I am raising another very strong-willed child who knows what she wants and will go to any lengths to get her needs met. And that's some of the things I love about raising strong kids. You know, sometimes I think maybe I should squash them a little so they fit more into the box of everyone else, so that people don't think they stand out because they talk too much or they have opinions or they just have different viewpoints. And then I think about how the world crushed my voice for so long because I felt like I was being judged, criticized, and ridiculed. And so I know the world is going to crush a little bit of that down for them. They're not egocentric children. They're not self-focused. But I wonder sometimes if it would just be easier to have kids that are more conformed. And then I realized that those are the people who don't change the world. And I know if you're listening to this podcast, you are a world changer. You might be a woman of global change. You might have a story that you are changing paradigms with. And I hope that's who you are, because I do attract spiritual thought leaders, coaches, authors, consultants who want massive transformation in this world. So I know you would understand what I'm talking about. Well, let's talk about what came out of the cruise. Bringing my son with me, they had a youth initiative that ran side by side. The adults, we were learning, and I was speaking, and other speakers were speaking. And what I loved was they took the children aside, and we had kids from 7 to 16, I think. So it's a big gap. But these kids came together and they did projects. They created their own business plan, their own ideas of how they want to make money in the world. And a lot of them had the social impact in there. And I loved it. I think that more and more as our kids are growing up, even the millennial generation and now the newest generation, is really truly the social impact is so important to them. They want to invest in companies or work for companies who are having a massive impact. And so I loved watching all of these kids present their ideas, to present their business ideas, strategies, how they wanted to raise money, all of these amazing opportunities. And then as adults, we got to be able to give them feedback or connections. But one night, we got to sit down in front of our child, knee to knee, staring each other in the face, and we were prompted by some questions. It really helped me understand what I'm missing in my communication with my child. It was funny because they said out loud that maybe parents to kids ratio of how often you speak, really truly speak into one another, is about 5 minutes a day. The funny thing was, my little boy looked at me and he said, "That's not true, Mommy. We talk a lot more than that." And I realized that's because I went to school to be a therapist. We talk about everything in our family. But I didn't realize how many people aren't having important conversations with their kids. And this was an amazing exercise to be able to start the conversations. So I'm going to tell you the prompts. First prompt was, something I love about you is. Now, one person will go and then the other person will follow, and it will just keep going until the time is up. And I think we went for about 3 minutes, and it just started to, envelop and expand into all the amazing things that we see in each other that maybe we don't have had a chance to explain to one another, to say out loud, to express, or even thought about. And it was amazing what came out of both sides of that. The second one was, something I wish you knew about me was, and I loved to hear what Dylan, my 10-year-old, has never told me before. What kind of things does he think about? What kind of things hasn't he shared with me? We don't realize what we share and what we don't share. I think sometimes in my own head, I think I've shared almost everything. And then I'll ask my husband, have we talked about that before? And he'll say, no, we've been married 11 years and I've never heard that story. So it's important. This helps to start that conversation of maybe things that have gone unsaid for a while. The next one was, something that makes me happy is, and this doesn't have to be just about the relationship. This is just in general. My son said trains, planes, building on my Game Boy, or not Game Boy, whatever, DS. Now I'm aging myself. My, building in Minecraft. Things that really make me happy is going for walks, And so it was really fun to hear what really makes each one of us happy. I feel loved when you, and I love this because sometimes we talk about the 5 love languages. Sometimes we're giving our own type of love, and it's not being received the same way because myself, I love gifts. I love acts of service, and then I love physical touch. Those are my 3. Physical time. I can't remember what it is. And my son, he loves words of affirmation. He loves, spending quality time. And he could care less about gifts. But if I just keep giving him gifts, I'm not explaining that that's a sign of my love. So it was fun to see how each one of us sees how we're being loved and how we can love one another better. The beauty I see in you is, and this was awesome because this is the place where, as a parent, we get to tell our kids how proud we are of them. I think so many times we get so busy fixing, organizing, getting things ready, taking them places, doing all these things, doing the tasks, but not talking about what truly lights us up and puts tears in our eyes when we see our children doing. So it was an amazing opportunity to share that. The next one was, something I should thank you for is. Now, I listened to some of these teenagers tell their parents that they wish they wanted to thank them for having structure, boundaries, rules. And you could see the shocked look on these parents' faces because truly they thought, well, that's what they can't stand about me. But when you break the walls down, kids really need those things. And it's amazing that they have the foresight and the awareness to say, even though I don't like it, or I don't like the results I get with it, I really, truly thank you for them. The next one was, something I'm sorry for is. This gives us an opportunity to talk about mistakes, to talk about forgiveness, to talk about ways we can shift and change the narrative that's been going on for a while. If you've been yelling at your kids for a while, it might be time to just say, I'm sorry that sometimes when mommy gets stressed out, I yell and scream. I'm sorry that we couldn't go to Disneyland this year. I'm sorry that, fill in the blanks. There's so many things that we don't take fault in. And I think that's a part of our kids understanding that we're not perfect. No one's perfect. We're not expecting them to be perfect. And it opens up the dialogue for that. And it gives them a chance to see, wow, my mom and dad aren't perfect. So I don't have to be perfect. And I can make mistakes and I can own up to them and I can move forward. The next one was something I could do differently is, so after you say you're sorry about some of these things, like saying you yelling at your kids, then you have an opportunity to say, something I would do differently is I'm going to take a few more seconds to just calm myself before having a conversation. You can come up with solutions to what you said you were sorry for. You can come up with new, innovative ways of handling things. It was really heartbreaking for me when my son said to me, he looked at me and he said, Mom, what I want you to say is this. And I was like, well, this isn't the exercise. But I let it go because he needed to say something and I want him to have the space to do it. He said to me, Mom, I want you to be sorry for always being gone. Now it's hard to hear as a parent. It broke my heart, brought tears to my eyes, because every time I leave my house to go speak, to go out in the world and do things, to go to these corporate conferences, to do what I'm here to do, I know it's hard on my kids. We FaceTime, we do all the things that I can to stay connected, but it hurts me too. I don't like to be away. We were gone for 14 days and my daughter has not left my side. The only reason I'm able to record this right now is because she's sleeping. I know how important quality time is and making memories with my children. And so when he told me this, it did break my heart. And it gave me the opportunity to then have a conversation about what would make it better for him. Something I'm proud of you is, like I said before, this gives you an opportunity to talk about those things. And then the last one that I loved, sprinkled in there, is something I worry about is we don't realize how aware our children, how smart they are. They know things, they feel things, they have extrasensory things because it hasn't been shut down yet. They know what's going on in the house. They know what's going on with you, or they've made up stories about why you're so angry, why you're so sad, why are these things happening. And when you ask them what they worry about, you'd be shocked to what you hear. My son said that he worries about being bullied. He worries about his negative thoughts that he has about himself. And he even said, I worry that when I have the thoughts of wanting to kill myself. Now, I know no parent ever wants to hear that. But at the same time, I would rather hear that than not know and have something happen. So this gives an opportunity for both of you to explain what's going on inside of our heads and to just listen. There's no conversation. It's what I worry about is money. What I worry about is my train's breaking. What I worry about is, and the more that you share, the more kids will show up. The more you share your story, your side, and share yourself, they'll open up. If you think about, you come in for dinner, everyone's sitting at the table, and you say, man, today I want to share about my day. Today I fought with one of my colleagues. We really had an argument, and I'm really upset about it. a child across the table says, well, you know what? I had a fight with Jane too, my best friend. Now, this is where you stop talking and you start asking questions. Sometimes when we are willing to go first, our kids will open up. When you respond with love and understanding and acknowledge that it's okay to sometimes disagree, you will get so much further with your children. Let your kids know you're listening. Express interest with nonverbal communication, head nodding, eyebrows raised, really leaning in and listening. Do not interrupt them. Let them completely finish. Let them get it all out. Repeat back what you have heard. It is so important and impactful in this world to just be heard. Some people are dying to be heard. And if you just wait a few more minutes and let them finish, you will have a full spectrum of what's really going on for someone. And then you can ask if they want advice, they want feedback, they want solutions, or they just needed to vent. My mom and I have an open communication line. And when she just wants to call and vent, she will say to me, I just need to vent. And then she goes. I don't stop her. I don't solve anything. I don't do anything but just sit and be with. If she calls me and she says, hey, can I run something by you? I need some feedback. I need some advice. Then that triggers me to know that I can jump in with solutions. And it goes reverse as well. As parents, we want to fix all the boo-boos. We want to fix the failures. We want to fix the sadness. We want to fix the broken hearts. We want to fix it all. And the best part is, if you don't solve it and you just keep asking questions and leading them to their own solutions, they will become so powerful, so empowered, and so independent. You know, I lost my dad at 10 years old. I had to grow up pretty fast. At 14, my mom was diagnosed with malignant melanoma and was given a year to live. Now, she has survived, and we did a lot of amazing things, and I'll probably share that on a whole other podcast. But when it comes to knowing how to make my own decisions and know how to handle myself and how to take care of myself, I had to learn that by practicing at home, practicing somewhere where it's safe. I have a safety net. I can make mistakes. Yes, I'll have consequences, but smaller consequences than the ones you will have after you leave the home. So give your kids the opportunity to build these independent solution skills, problem-solving skills. It will be so impactful for them. And so one of the other things that we really talked about was sharing, having something happens. So this was the example for the kids and the parents. So now we have the common language. There's an event that happens and you have a response to it. You get to decide how you respond. Now, in a conversation or in an argument, you can choose to be right or choose to be happy. And I took this immediately, like 2 days later on the trip, where my son is sitting across from me and saying, Mom, you promised this. And I said, no, I didn't. I think you thought I promised that. Your dad promised that, not me. And I'm not breaking my promises. I said, do I always tell you the truth? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, so let's just leave it at that. Well, my son, like strong-willed, he really wanted to prove his point. So he kept harping on it. And finally, I looked at him and I said, Dylan, do you really just want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? And I was silent. About 30 seconds later, he starts crying, runs over, wraps his arms around me, gets in my lap, and says, Mom, I'm so sorry. I choose happy. I didn't realize I was stuck fighting when there was no reason to fight anymore. But that's what we do. Our ego kicks in and we want to be right. Instead, if we can just stop and say, what's the point? We can change that and walk away from a conversation, not an argument, being dissatisfied and angry. So choose to be right or to be happy, and use this with your kids. Last thing is these prompts that were given to us, Dylan and I, we promised each other we're going to do this weekly. And we said we were going to bring my husband in. So what we're going to start doing is once a week on Friday nights, we're going to put Sophie to bed, and we are going to sit down, the three of us, knee to knee, and do this exercise for the three of us. He'll get to see mommy and daddy sharing what they love about one another, what they worry about. He'll also get to be able to give feedback to both mommy and daddy. And when my daughter's old enough, we'll allow her in the circle too. And maybe what we'll do is we'll partner up and each person gets a few minutes with each person. But we're going to create a ritual around communicating our needs, our thoughts, our opinions, so that there's always an open communication. And lastly, one of the things that I do with my children is anytime they're having emotions, whether it's anger or sadness, they're throwing a fit, I will always say, it's okay to have feelings. And then I say, tell me more about what you're feeling. So much in this world, we shut down, we push that beach ball down in our stomach, we shove those emotions down, we don't talk about it, we don't address it, we pretend like it's not there, we numb out for it, we shop, we drink, we smoke, whatever it is for you, eat. We stuff our emotions because we've been told it's not safe to have feelings. So start today with anytime your children is having a feeling, address it as it's okay to have feelings. Please keep feeling that. What do you need from me? This way, people will actually process their emotions and not shove them down so that when they're 30, 40 years old, they write a book about Mommy Dearest. All the things I didn't say, all the things I didn't talk about, all the things that came up. You know, if we could just adopt this in our everyday lives, even if we're busy, it will help raise children into grown adults who actually know what they're feeling, can talk about their feelings, move through their feelings, and communicate it with grace and ease. And they can choose to be more happy than more right. So I'm glad you tuned in today. I hope this started a conversation. Maybe it'll start a conversation in your own household, but this is one of the main components. It's so, being a parent and being in my family, having my unit of my husband and my children is so important to me. I will do anything for them. I'm building an empire with my message so that I can spend more time with them and do more experiences with them and have more freedom with them. So if I'm not building my relationships while building my business, by the time I build my empire, I'll turn around and my kids won't be there and they won't want to participate with me and they won't want to go on all these amazing trips and vacations. So start today. Start one conversation with one of those prompts. I will put a link to the resource where you can find these prompts for yourself, print them out, do it with your family, do it with your spouse, do it with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Start the conversation with someone where you can deeply share your needs, your feelings, your opinions, and be heard. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Transformational Speakers Podcast. If you'd like to know more about your host, Erin Lohman-Jeck, and how to work with her, please go to her website at erinlohmanjeck.com. You will find more about her coursework, and resources. We hope to see you on stage.